So we're starting now with our very first match of the GSS Pro Invitational number 2. Winner takes 500 euros off the whole grid. Second place 200 and third place 100 euros. This is first round, single elimination best of 3. Knockout, Stefano versus Axlav. Players ready? Go. So for the first map we're having Terminus SE. Neither player vetoed the map away, so both feel comfortable with a bit of a longer macro game where 3 bases is more easy to take. I'm going to be curious to see if Axlav is going for a forge fast expansion or perhaps open up with a pylon on top of his ramp and start with a gateway, which opens some more possibilities of the opening start. Because basically if you start with a forge fast expand, the only pressure or risk you can really put on your opponent is going to be some kind of cannon attack. If not a cannon attack, then the Zerg knows he can safely do anything he wants for the first 7 minutes of the game. The most you can get in is about 1 Zealot. So we've got Stefano in the bottom, 6 o'clock. And we've got Axlav here on the left at the 9 o'clock location. Now if he was forge fast expanding, he should have already sent a pylon probe. So I think he's making a pylon in his own base. That's a too late pylon. It's a little bit sloppy, way too late. So he's going to have a little bit of a stunted probe production, which he has resumed now. He's going to have about 10 seconds delay on his number 11 probe, which is a little bit of a pity, but it's definitely not game deciding, but I won't give any beauty marks for it. Probe supply block, and there we go with the chrono boost. As if you could make up for that deficit with an extra enthusiastic chrono boost, which is of course standard, so there's no making up that kind of deficit, but no matter. I will not focus too much on such a small thing in the game. Back to Stefano's base, he's at 15 supply. Still options of opening with a spawning pool or perhaps a hatchery. No drone yet going through the natural, so it is in fact a spawning pool, which will allow him to make 2 to 4 Zerglings, just in case that the probe wishes to do some kind of pylon block to prevent hatchery. I do think you can actually open with a hatchery on this map, because even if this natural location is blocked, you can go over to the third base and build a hatchery there, and it's still quite okay, and then you can just get your next hatchery here at the natural. But perhaps he doesn't like playing from such a weird location with just 5 mural patches and 1 gas, so he's just done it like that. He gets his hatchery a little bit too soon. Probe didn't quite manage a prolonged block. Usually Protoss will be quite happy if the hatchery is delayed until like the 3-minute 20-second mark. But it was in fact built at something like the 2-minute 50-second mark, so that's a 30-second gain that Stefano can be happy about. 6 Zerglings here, because he went for a gasless expansion. If you go just 4 Zerglings with a gasless expansion, you gotta be kind of careful of like 1 Zealot, 1 Stalker, or 2 Zealot rush. It's gonna be really difficult to deal with that. Or like 1 Zealot and a probe will beat your 4 Zerglings, so you will be forced to make more. When you go 6 Zerglings, you're able to kill pylons faster. You can even do an effective run by, because you can't stop all 6 Zerglings without probes. And yeah, we see indeed here. Now he's going to be happy of those extra Zerglings. Maybe he will be able to kill some probes or maybe run through. Nice block there by Axlav. All the Zerglings are going to be blocked, and this is actually turning out not to be too bad. Not as bad for Axlav as it could be, but that's a little bit of lost mining time, and he lost 2 probes, so that's actually already worth it for Stefano, but you've always got to think in relative terms, and relatively it could have been a lot worse for Axlav, so all the Axlav fans can breathe a collective sigh of relief. even as they keep in mind that they are a little bit upset with him that he even let that happen. But let's try to forgive him. Stefano went with 100 gas from a late geyser, getting metabolic boost, and is currently at 28 supply, 2 queens, and now starting his third base. 1 gas so far for Axlav, which means he wants to get a little bit of more minerals first, not quite the fast second gas, which usually indicates a fast Stargate. He's gathered about 120 gas so far, using none of it yet for Sentry, obviously, because his cybernetic score is not done. And Stefano pumping out a steady stream of drones. No gas yet, which makes it look a lot like the opening which Liquid Red employed at the Europe Battle.net Invitationals, where he took first place, beating, among others, Naniwa. He did a lot of 3 hatchery, no gas builds. I think it was completely no gas, and the exception here is that there was a gas for link speed, but for the rest, not at all going for a quick tech and really cranking out those evil drones. So more extractors being added now, and he thinks it's just about time now, as his third ends, to go tech for tier 2. Got nothing but spawning pool, so he's really not that afraid, and I like what Axlav is doing here, getting up to 3 zealots. Who knows if he's making another, and Chrono boosting out the attack upgrade, so they're going to be extra good against links, and I think that's going to work really nicely against Stefano. There's no spine crawlers, there's no roach warrant, so currently we have Stefano sitting at a grand total of 0 Zerglings, and 4 Zerglings are being made. And an evolution chamber and a roach warren. It's rather late roach warren, so we're gonna get 3 zealots coming in with an attack upgrade, and 8 Zerglings is not gonna be able to stop them. The queens will help, but I think it'll be a buttock clenching moment for Stefano right there. So a little bit of a semi-aggressive opening, and now he's heading over to 2 gateways, 5 gateways, sentries, armor upgrade, and the cybernetic score is done, and he will make another cannon for safety. Of a possible overreaction of Zerglings, we'll be able to counter, so he wants the second cannon, and he's on 4 gases, and also thinking about another nexus, so 5 gates is about the right number to have when you're in a defensive position, and you want to take your third and a lot of gas. When all you're doing is defending, that's about the right number, so we see Axlav very clearly here choosing for a macro game, and Stefano is at about 50 drones, and he's starting 21 roaches. Now I want to say something about that, because I often hear shoutcasters say that some kind of mini pressure or semi pressure is forcing the Zerg to make a lot of units, and thus it's somewhat of a small economic victory for the Protoss or the Terran player. I don't think it's like, I don't always think like forcing Zerg to make units with tiny armies is possible at all. In fact, I know characteristically about Stefano, he likes to go for a quick 50 drones and then stop for a while. Then he's making a lot of Zerglings or a lot of roaches, and will take map control whether or not those 3 zealots came in or not. So that was not a reactive play from him. He just wants to make units right at this time, and it will allow him to drone behind it or continue aggression if he feels that it's working out well. And it looks like Axlav is not quite prepared for this. Maybe he used a little bit more to the Hydra style of getting really 60, 70, 80 drones really quickly, macroing up really well. Stefano with a bit of a different timing, which may seem confusing to Axlav, and who is trying to twist himself in all sorts of corners to try and somehow efficiently make his way out of this, but this is costing him really a lot, and Stefano immediately reacts by throwing up a Spire, feeling somehow that the only thing that could stop him at this point is about 10 Colossi or so, and Corruptors from a Spire will do quite well against that. And barring that ridiculous circumstance of 10 Colossi just marching in now, the Spire is just the thing that he would want to follow this up, because all that Axlav can think about right now is stopping the onslaught of the roaches, and enter scene 2 where 15 Mutalisks fly in and make short work of all the probes. And that would be the end of the story for Axlav. See now a whole flurry of upgrades coming in from Stefano. Second upgrade, for attack. He's getting Glial Reconstitution, which is roach speed, Burrowed upgrade, and he's getting the Spire, and he just finished Hydralisk Den as well. So really, he isn't that narrow-minded about this game. He really wants to diversify all of the threats that he can possibly pose to Axlav, and even throwing up a 4th hatchery over here, and a macro hatchery at home. So there's really nothing he's lacking at this point, except, I would say, detection. A couple of DTs could come here before Overseers are out, and do a little bit of havoc. And that could really be the only thing that I would say is right now the weakness for Stefano. But being so much on the offensive, he really doesn't fear too much something like that happening. Now I'd like to take a little bit of attention to Axlav's game plan. Let's just assume that all of that didn't happen, and we'll try to see through that and see what he's doing right now. He's got double robotics facility. That's quite interesting at this point. I don't usually see that at this point, and we've also got the robotics bay coming up, so normally his plan would have been to get quite a lot of Immortals to counter Roaches and then get Colossi to counter Hydralisks. He's also getting Twilight Council in order to get more upgrades, so heavy ground-based army, no High Templars, no Stargates, was going to be his plan. So it's going to be something to look out for, to see if he's going to try to do that the next game, but then a more safe version of it, where he doesn't lose, I don't know, 25 probes to an early mid-game attack from 3 bases. Expertly dividing up his army, units everywhere, well defended by Axlav on 2 fronts, but the one in the main base is giving him rather much of a headache. Of course, he may win this battle over here, or he may not, unless he gets some more units, but Hydralisk trade very cost efficiently with straight up Stalkers, so thus far it seems possible to hold for Axlav. Not too much of a supply deficiency, better than you could maybe have hoped for in this situation. Only, well, I wanted to say 30 supply behind, but at this point he's 50 supply behind. And of course economically he's got 68 probes versus 80 drones, not too bad. A series of wrong decisions by Stefano could put Axlav back into the game, or maybe he needs a bit more Colossus than he's feeling at the moment. If these Hydralisks are just going to be really dangerous. Gonna need some magical force fields. A lot of units streaming in there. Only now the first 2 Colossi coming out, but I fear that they joined the party too late. No more sentries left, and the whole wall end taken off. Armies in every base which cannot be taken out, and only the 3rd base is sitting nice and pretty. But without any kind of gathering up his army and rallying his forces, he's not going to be able to repel these forces that Stefano repeatedly keeps throwing at him. And even 5 Corruptors already coming out against the Colossi, which are even still in production. Stefano's seeing through the only thing that could possibly make him lose the game. 10 Colossi incoming, but Corruptors are going to be ready. Zergling streaming in, fighting against the Immortals. The first 2 Colossi are out, even as the Corruptors are flying in already. We've got all the gas being mined from the 4th base. Non-stop harassment like only Zerg can do. Units everywhere, keep streaming them in, and I bet you all the hatcheries are rallied straight to Axlav's base. Here the Corruptors are, only 1 cannon to try and stop them, but they're too beefy for that. Colossi going down, and I think it can't be too long now until Axlav has to throw the towel into the ring and try to consolidate his losses in the 2nd and possibly the 3rd map. Rough awakening for Axlav here. Like a good trooper, Axlav doesn't give up till the end. And Axlav, aka Gladiator, calls GG. Now we've got a 1-0 lead for Stefano.